when my company, Sargent & Sargent, bought H.E. Sargent, there was a lot of risk involved for me. And I was trying to evaluate whether that Mid-Atlantic component was yet another level of risk I wanted to take on when we made that initial offer to buy H.E. Sargent. And my initial offer was not to. And then Frucon, the parent company, asked Tim and George and me to go down and visit.
When he came down, I never forget the trip that him and I took and showed him around the jobs. And because originally he wasn't 100% sure he really wanted to take Mid-Atlantic on. I think he wanted to kind of let it go. And we kind of steered him in that direction to there's opportunity here. And there's ways that when New England's down, Mid-Atlantic's going to be up. So feed off each other.
So we spent a couple of days with Pat Dubé down there, and it looked like something that I could get my arms around.
Well, that was definitely a little bit of a surprise. Up until 2005, we had been dealing with H.E. Sargent, owned by, an overseas entity. So when Herb bought them, we'd had to, again, it was a little feeling out period. We had to find out who Herb Sargent was. But Herb was great, and the first time I met Herb, I always remember him saying, it's like a guppy swallowing a whale, and I've never forgotten that. But the guppy swallowed and digested the whale very well.
So I left in 2000 went to work for Herb as I did the Sargent. And then when Herb bought H.E. Sargent in 2005, we're still with Herb, and we came back, and I was vice president of operations, so I oversaw New England and Mid-Atlantic. Pat actually moved back, and 6 weeks later we asked him to move back down there.
I went down from 2005, and then I came back in 2010. Herb brought me back. He said he would, and I believed him.
I think he enjoyed his time down there. It wasn't a hard sell to have to come back.
When I left, it was a struggle. It was tough getting work. It was a difficult time, keeping the guys busy. We had slimmed down. We probably only had 20 guys at that point, maybe 15, 20 guys. So it wasn't like we had a whole bunch of people down there. And so it was a difficult time. It was just the economy was tough, and it was survival mode at that point.
Back during the Great Recession, we had some consultants in, and our operation in the Mid-Atlantic in Virginia was really struggling, as most people were through 2009, 10, 11, 12. And they kept coming in every 2 or 3 months, and they'd say, okay, when are you going to shut this operation down? And Tim appropriately said, when the economy comes back, it's going to come back there first.
I had kind of heard that the market had tightened up down there at the time. On a project, you might get 4 or 5 bidders. Typically, we were seeing 10, 12 bidders on every single job. So it was tight down there to be successful. Tim Folster, I was working directly for him. He was the vice president of operations at the time, and he said, in your new role, I'd like you to go down every other week, to go down to the Mid-Atlantic, to just get your pulse on the region down there and report back and let me know how things are going. We had some difficult projects that weren't going very well when we went down there, and we had to make some management changes. So my going down every other week turned into being asked if I would go down there and take over the region. And I always joke, I assumed it was going to be a 6-month period, and I was down there almost 4 years. I tried to instill everything I had kind of learned in the New England region from a culture standpoint. We had a new outlook on hiring, new outlook on training, but it was a great experience. Great people down there. Everybody I met, everybody I worked with.
So he did a great job the 4 years he was down there, but he felt in the end that it wasn't fair. The amount of time he was spending with his family, he had 2 young kids. He didn't want to come back, but I just told him, you're not going to sacrifice your kids growing up years.
One of the things with Maine, it doesn't ever get really high, but it doesn't really get terrible. Where some of those other areas can be a little bit more volatile, really good opportunity, and a little bit worse. And what it's going to mean for us in the future, I think, we've got a pretty lofty goal with our stock price over the next 20 years. And I don't think we go there without operations in the Mid-Atlantic and the Southeast. I think that's the area to grow. I think, I love Maine. I grew up in Maine, but Maine's kind of an economic cul-de-sac, and we aren't likely to see incredible growth here like they are seeing down there. So I think that's the place for our company to grow. We will grow here as it allows us, but I think that's the place where we have the best opportunity to reach our goals.
I think it just gives that balance of another region. If we're slow in one region, maybe they're going to pick up the pace, and if they have a down year, maybe southern Maine picks up the pace. So being diversified in multiple regions, it's not a bad thing. And we always say at some point, if they get slow, they can send people up here to Maine and help us out. So the sharing of resources is huge, and a lot of knowledge too.
I'm proud of the fact that Tim made the case in 2005 that we should buy this, and then also made the case again in 2010, 11, 12. No, we're not going to fold this up. We're going to keep our toehold here, and it's going to come back up. So, Tim deserves a lot of credit for that. But it's just really, for me, it represents that we're sticking with it. We're not going anywhere. We're sticking with it. And if anybody can survive some of those downtimes in 8, 9, 10, 11 down in those states, you can probably survive almost anything.